Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how to buy a house for under $20,000. And heck, if you don't even have that $20,000, maybe you can borrow it against your 401k or your stocks. I'll explain and I'll show you step by step how you can turn this into $90,500. Now, why should you listen to some 28-year-old dude on real estate? Well, I personally, no partners, own over $11 million of real estate assets. I'm a real estate broker. I've been a licensed lender, I've been a licensed contractor, and I've been investing for 10 years. I also spent my career helping people get started in real estate and do exactly this. I'm not just somebody who lucked into buying some rental somewhere. This was my career and still is my career. Helping people get started in real estate, making instant profit, taking advantage of the weird inefficiencies in the real estate market. Now, keep in mind this video is sponsored by life insurance. Get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes via the link down below. You can Android Pay or Apple Pay for it. And while you're there, get 2 completely free stocks with the stock trading platform Webull. Deposit just $100 and get 2 free stocks. But for now, let's get started on real estate. So how do you get started and what are some rules to start it? Well, number 1, your goal is to buy in an area with a poverty rate below 20%. Ideally, you want to be below 15%. And on top of that, you want to buy in an area with an increasing population. You don't want to buy real estate in an area where people are leaving. Then be careful of buying in areas that only have a couple of reasons or maybe one reason that people actually live there. For example, an oil town or a mining town or a town with just one major employer, like a small town. Be careful of this. If that employer or that industry goes away, the city might decay and dry up, and eventually it's kind of like a city can go bankrupt and all your property value goes away. So you don't want to invest in areas that have that risk. It's kind of like when you buy stocks, it's called the bankruptcy risk, right? Like what's the factor that this property or this company is going to be gone in 10 years? Be careful. Usually areas with relatively low prices or weirdly high cash flows can sometimes be in a red flag that you're in an area that might not be very stable long term. And an easy way to tell this is go downtown in that city. And if it looks like an abandoned factory, it's probably a red flag. Anyway, next rule, if you're going to live in the property, make sure to keep your commute under 20 minutes. That's really important for your happiness purposes. And any property that you buy, make sure you use the Craigslist test. That is, would you feel comfortable conducting a Craigslist transaction in front of the property at 9 p.m. at night without feeling nervous or feeling like you need a gun? Now that you have location down, let's get on to the next step, pre-approval and finding an agent. The best way to do this is go to Zillow's agent finder and look for agents who sell a lot of real estate in your area. You can do this by going to Zillow.com. This is not sponsored by them. Go to the little agent finder button and type in your zip code. Then look specifically for agents who have a bunch of like little yellow sold circles in neighborhoods that you think you want to buy in. These agents can oftentimes have the inside scoop on upcoming deals. Ask that agent for a recommendation for their lender and say that you want to work with them. Don't keep going without getting pre-approved with that agent's lender. If they give you a couple recommendations, pre-approve with both of them, and then maybe shop both of those with anybody else that you're looking to get pre-approved for. But don't worry so much about this loan because we're going to be replacing this loan. So if you're worried about, a quarter of an interest rate here or there or whatever, don't worry about it. Just get pre-approved, show your agent you care, and you're gonna be a great person to work with. You gotta be a nice buyer. Nice buyers happen to get the best deals. Now, to get to pre-approved, you'll usually get like a needs list. They'll ask you for things like your W-2, 2 years of tax returns, 6 months of your bank statements, driver's license, social, and don't delay in doing this. Just dump it all over them and let them start working. Let them run your credit. You don't want to miss out on a good deal because you're worried about a 7-point hit to your credit score. Let them check your credit. It doesn't matter if you're not thinking of buying for 3 months or 6 months. Get pre-approved now so you're ready when the ideal property comes up. Step 3, the ideal property. Download apps like Realtor.com, Redfin, Zillow, and set up notifications in your ideal location. We've already talked about location, but now let's talk about the ideal property. The ideal property is going to be a property that is also ideal to rent out in the future. That way, you don't have to sell it. You could turn around and rent this without having abnormal issues that affect the longevity of your tenants. Generally, that's gonna be like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, around 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. Maybe like a 7,000 square foot lot, and then built anywhere between like 1940 and, 2000. That's typically where you're gonna be looking in. Maybe up to 2010, maybe a little bit older. Newer is obviously better if you can get newer and still get a good deal on newer. And condos work, but condos come with some special requirements, and they can be a bit trickier, especially qualifying those HOAs. There's good and bad with them. I know sometimes we think it's all bad. There is good, but that's definitely for a different video. Now, let's start looking for neighborhoods that have a lot of these houses. And you should scale the numbers that you use for this example that I'm going to give you to whatever numbers really look like in your area. But let's say you find a neighborhood that kind of meets this criteria, and houses usually sell for around $195,000. And for some reason, there are random houses that you see that have a sold history, and they come up as having sold for like $100,000 to $125,000. Deals like that usually come on the market about 5% of the time. So if 100 houses hit the market in a single month, you should see roughly 5 of these come up every month, or about once a week. Obviously, scale these numbers accordingly. Now, why would a house come on the market so inexpensively? Well, this is where we get into something called the wedge. Usually, it's because a single-family house doesn't look too pretty. That is, it sells below market value because it has characteristics like smelly carpet, musty cabinets, old countertops, old tiling, dead or overgrown landscaping. These are usually like a big beacon for you. They're screaming your name. They're like a bat call in the sky. However, you want to take a peek at these homes before you do anything. You see them at the market, go take a peek at them. Don't spend any money, just go with your agent and ask some basic questions. You want to know about the expensive things. I don't care so much about the non-expensive things and the things that don't really matter much. I don't care about the carpet, I don't care about the paint. What I care about is the foundation. Minor and hairline cracks can usually be okay, but if you can poke a finger in it, probably stay away. Now, are there unpermitted additions? You generally don't want those. How old is the sewer line? You typically want less than 30 years old. So if you got a place that you're buying from like the 1950s, maybe it'd be nice if they would have replaced the sewer by now. How old is the roof? You generally want it to be less than 15 years old. Doesn't have to be brand new. Then the following things are not ideal, but they're not as expensive to fix or repair if needed. So I'm not so worried about these. Things like the age of the furnace, electrical, and supply plumbing. That's different from the sewer. The supply plumbing is where the water comes into your house, right? And then runs throughout your house. Generally you want like copper or PEX over galvanized, but I'm gonna not buy a house because it has galvanized. You'll know when you ask your agent, so don't worry about that. The ideal property, by the way, has really ugly cosmetics, right? It's got the ugly carpet and the wallpaper and the popcorn ceiling, but they've already upgraded the sewer and the roof and other things, maybe even the plumbing and the electrical. Number 4, or step 4. A threshold. If properties in this neighborhood that you're looking in typically sell for $195,000, then you want to instantly view a property that hits the market for under $150,000. Not necessarily to buy, but you gotta be the expert on this neighborhood. You gotta understand, why is this coming on the market $45,000 less than the market value? Did they misprice it? Is there something wrong with it? Let's figure it out, and what is it gonna cost to solve that solution? You have to be very, very careful of a neighborhood's market value, and don't go looking at old comps from like 2 years ago or even 6 months ago. That's old news. You want to look at other properties that are selling that's like, oh man, that property just went into escrow, that property just sold, and that's selling for $195. That's good. Like, you want the stuff that just sold. So that way, if prices move up, you're keeping your finger sort of on the pulse of the market. Step 5, striking. Now here's the strike rule. The second a property hits the market, you gotta get in that property. And the second you get in that property and it meets a general criteria, which we're gonna talk about in a second, you gotta write the offer. You're protected, buyers are protected. Talk to your agent about your protections. Your goal is to make an offer as soon as possible, smoke out other potential buyers, get your offer accepted. You're gonna lose some, you're not gonna get the first probably 5 offers you write. So guess what you gotta do? Start making 5 offers, and surprise, surprise, you'll end up getting something. It'll be great. You just gotta put it in. This doesn't come easily, but it does come fast when you make it happen. Let's say, and keep in mind that I made a business helping people do this, so I know it's possible. And I did it in a market where houses, the fixers sell for 500 grand, and then they resell for like 700 grand, okay? So it's possible in any market. Now, let's say a house hits the market for $110,000. First step, get inside, right? Then write down little things that you have to do. Okay, I gotta do paint, carpet, door handles. You can do that stuff yourself. The outlets are yellow, you can fix that without touching the wiring. You don't even have to learn how to rewire an outlet. Walls are ugly, you can deal with that yourself. There's so many things that are so easy and they don't have to be 100% perfect. You don't have to pay for perfection. Stay away from perfection. I was born in Germany and I was raised that everything has to be perfect, and it was the biggest mistake to making money in business. So stay away from perfection unless you're like an engineer and something's gotta be perfect. You know, that's different. Don't do that in real estate. Now, let's say you found a property with a 10-year-old roof, dual paned windows, copper plumbing, and it was built in 1980. So there's no asbestos or lead since the cutoff for that was 1978. Generally, could have been some overlap, but anyway. Shag carpet, old brown cabinets, ugly bathrooms. Sounds like something you're going to strike on. But first, make your budget. The last thing you wanna do is go through and think, okay, I'm gonna rip out the cabinets, I'm gonna rip out the vanities. Try to keep as much as you can and just ask yourself, what is it gonna cost to make it look nice? Your goal is to have a budget of, for this kind of property, a $110,000 property, let's try to get you in with a $10,000 budget with you doing fix-up work yourself. That means you might be able to stretch that $10,000 to around $25,000 of value and just do this stuff on nights and weekends. Maybe have somebody else kick the carpet in, but have them kick the carpet in after you go paint. Anyway, now you've got a $110,000 house. Let's say you put 5% down and take mortgage insurance. Don't worry about that, we'll get rid of that later, but take the mortgage insurance. Then set aside $4,500 for closing costs like home inspections, escrow, and payments while you fix the place up. This means you spent $10,000 for down payment, closing costs, and all the other stuff. Now you got $10,000 for your fix-up budget, so $20,000 is gone. Write the offer, get into the deal. Now, if you lock this deal up, let's be real, it's a no-brainer. The reason it's a no-brainer is because you're into a deal for $120,000 in a $195,000 neighborhood. Now here's how you profit. The value in the neighborhood is $195,000. Maybe the flips are the ones that are selling for like $200, $210, $220, but the basic ones sell for $195. That's like the median, right? Sometimes some sell lower, like the fixers in the low 100s, and then you got these at $195 that are the basic ones. That's what you're gonna be. You're trying to be basic. You're not trying to be more than basic. You're basic, okay? You're basic. Keep it in mind. Don't go crazy. Stop getting the Brazilian marbles and hardwoods and all that crap. It's marketing and it's stupid. It's a waste of money. Since yours is rental grade, you're not gonna sell for what the flips are selling for. Don't even try. It's fine. $195,000. Now, subtract your loan. If you put 5% down on $110K, that means you have a loan of $104,500. Boom, baby. What do you got now? $90,500 of equity. Your net worth literally just went from $20,000 to $90,500. But what if you had to sell the house? Let's say you lost your job and it's like, nope, everything's changed, I gotta sell. Well, then take off about 7%. I'm being conservative on that fee. It's not usually that expensive. Take off 7% and you're left with about $77,000. That means you literally turn 20 grand into $77,000 pretty dang fast, virtually instantly. I mean, where else can you make that money in a pretty guaranteed way? Because you're guaranteed buying below market value, right? So take 195, take off 7%, take off your loan of 104.5, boom, you're left with 77 grand. Not bad. Obviously you have to pay taxes, but taxes we could talk about a different video. Now, you're not going to sell though. Instead, what do you have when you don't sell? You got a big cushion. Now you got $90,500 as a cushion. Sweet, sweet equity. Well, what if the market fell 10% and then you sold? Okay, well, worst case scenario, the market fell 10% and then you sold, you'd still be left with around $59,000. Fell 20%, you'd still be left with around $39,000. We could keep going. You got a good deal, so you have insulation. But instead, you're going to keep the property. So you're not trying to time the market, you're just trying to get a good deal no matter what time we're in the market. Your goal is to get in and then wait. Stop waiting to get in. Now, generally, my rule of thumb is if you're going to buy like a $100,000 property, you want to create at least like $40,000. That's the general rule of thumb. You buy a property between $100,000 to $300,000, try to generate at least $40,000 in sort of that boost. If you're buying a place between like $400,000 to $700,000, you probably want more of like an $80,000 to $100,000 boost to make that worth it. Now, what about that's just sort of a rule of thumb. In this case though, we turned 20 grand into $90,500 of equity. That's great. So what can you do now? Because you've got mortgage insurance, right? Yes, you're going to refinance, which means you're going to replace your first mortgage with a second mortgage. And by doing that, you can now put 20% down as long as your appraisal comes in at or around $195,000. Even if the appraisal comes in low, it's not a big deal. You got plenty of equity. You're going to refinance the property with 20% down, which means you got rid of that stupid first loan you had with mortgage insurance. And guess what? Because you got such a good deal, you're actually going to get money back. This is called a cash out refinance. Because think about it, $195,000 with a new loan at 20% down minus your original loan leaves $51,500 of cash sitting around, minus some miscellaneous costs for like your refinance escrow and some costs for the refinance, right? That's gonna leave you with somewhere around $50,000 in cash, which means your net worth literally just went from $20,000 to $90,500 pretty quickly, and you got around $50,000 cash in the bank with no mortgage insurance. All because you bought a little stupid house that people consistently tend to make fun of, but miss the true value play. Folks, if you want to know more, I have an entire real estate investing course that'll teach you how to go from zero to millionaire. It's usually too niche for YouTube though, so that course goes into insane detail and saves you way more money than you actually pay for the course. We're even going into partnerships to make sure that we can get you cheaper costs on products when you go to renovate. That's coming soon within the next couple weeks. So thank you so much everyone for checking out this video. If you like this, share this with somebody who cares. Obviously, scale the numbers to make them make sense in your area and get out there and go build some wealth. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon with another video.